Welcome to the Barnes & Noble at Boston University. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We're pleased to present Beth Goldstein as part of our ongoing author series. An alum and member of the School of Management faculty, she's here tonight to speak about her new book, The Ultimate Small Business Marketing Toolkit. The founder of Marketing Edge Consulting Group, Beth Goldstein has more than 20 years' experience in sales and marketing. In the Ultimate Small Business Marketing Toolkit, she channels her expertise into proven strategies and step-by-step instructions on how to get customers, I don't know why I'm tripping over my words tonight, I apologize, and keep them coming back for more. With about 6 out of 10 small businesses failing within 5 years, Goldstein's book is a necessity for business owners, entrepreneurs, and marketing professionals. Peter Russo, the Director of Entrepreneurship Programs at the Boston University School of Management, praises the book, saying it pushes your bottom line to a breakthrough level of success. In addition to her years of experience as founder of Marketing Edge, Beth Goldstein works with entrepreneurs through the Institute for Technology Entrepreneurship and Commercialization at BU, teaches entrepreneurial sales and marketing, and oversees the Entrepreneurial Certificate Program here at the school. She's also an instructor for the Inner City Entrepreneurs Business Growth Program. She received her MBA from our school, BU, and holds a degree in economics and sociology from Brandeis University. Please welcome Beth Goldstein.
Thank you, Jean. Okay, can everybody hear me? So Jean did a great job of telling you all who I am, but now, so I won't even bother with that slide. But what I want to talk about and what I want to know now is who are you and why are you here? So just by a quick show of hands, how many of you consider yourselves to be entrepreneurs? Okay. How many of you own a business or thinking about owning a business? Okay. If you didn't raise your hand for any of those, the next 20 minutes can be really boring. So you may want to quietly exit out of here. But I think most of you at least raised your hand for one part of this. So as Jean talked about, 6 out of 10 new businesses fail within 5 years. It's a pretty shocking statistic. Why? Why do you think new businesses fail? This is not supposed to be a quiet session. So what are some of the reasons? Yeah.
Inadequate marketing plan.
Inadequate marketing plan. Very good answer. Why else?
Poor brand management in general.
Okay. Poor brand management. Any other reasons?
Poor financial planning.
Poor financial planning. Poor business vision. I think the number one reason most businesses fail is that they don't really understand who their customers are. They may have a great product, they might have a great service, but you know what? Build it and they will come really doesn't work. So it's really important as entrepreneurs to be able to understand who your customers are, why they buy from you. And that's not going to be the only key to success, but that's going to be a critical one. Okay, so we've got this product. I want to see how good at marketing you all are. Paul, would you help me? This product, this is a real product. We're just going to pass them around so you can see what they are. From the looks of it, what do you think based on the PowerPoint? We'll pass these around. What does it look like this is? Dog food. Dog treats, dog food. Okay. Look at the names. Breakfast Squares, Champions, Chibunga. You see what they look like as you're watching them being passed around. Who do you think buys something like this?
It looks like children's cereal.
It does look like children's cereal. You're absolutely right. And fortunately, they don't sell it in the children's aisle. And I actually bought this when I was out with my kids, and they were the ones who pointed it out. But it was not in the kid cereal aisle. It was actually in the dog food section. But what type of person would buy this product?
Dog owner.
Obviously a dog owner, hopefully a dog owner. But what type of dog owner?
Kids.
Ones with kids? Maybe, yeah.
Someone who wants to treat their pet like a child.
Someone who wants to treat their pet like a child. Absolutely. And actually the dog food business is tremendous, $1 billion business where people really do want to treat their pets like children. And I have 2 dogs, and they're as spoiled as you could possibly imagine. What else do we need to know about that product and the person who buys that type of product. If you were going to sell that, what would you want to know about your customers?
I want to know all kinds of demographics about them, their income, their interests, where they live.
Okay, income, interests, where they live. Somebody in the back?
I was going to say what they might be looking for on the labels, because people look for, especially for their dogs, special kinds of food, certain kinds of vitamins. So they might read the labels, and if you put it on the front of the box, it might draw their attention.
Excellent. What are they looking for in making a decision? Are they looking for a healthy product? Peanut butter, cheese omelet, multigrain. They look pretty healthy, right? But they sound healthy. Yeah.
Have a price yet?
Price. Good point. How much do you think that these boxes cost?
$4.
$4 more. How much do you think they cost? They cost, we know more than 4.
10.
What'd you say?
10.
10. Not as much as 10. These boxes actually cost $5. Now, if you have a dog or have ever been in a dog store, the 40-pound bags, you know, the ones that are really big, cost on their own about $25 to $40. That's 10 times larger than what's actually in this bag. So we're talking to a customer who's willing to spend 10 times the amount for that. So you really have to know a lot about who would buy that and where do they go to shop. So my last question is, where would you sell it? You've got a customer who's willing to spend 10 times more on this. Fancy labeling, looks like it's healthy.
Higher end grocery store.
High-end grocery store.
The Whole Foods or something along those lines.
Whole Foods. Whole Foods makes sense. They don't sell it at Whole Foods, but you're absolutely right. That's where I would put it. Where else do you think they sell it?
It might be in a city where people aren't driving their cars around all the time and you don't want to carry huge bags.
That's a great suggestion. Absolutely. Actually, go ahead.
You might find it like a specialty kind of pet shop, maybe not a chain, but maybe a independent specialty shop.
Absolutely, like a small boutique pet shop. Absolutely, I agree. Where this company actually sells is through A&P, major supermarkets in at least the New York, New Jersey area, and they sold in Shaw's for a short period of time. You think the Shaw's shopper is the type of person who would buy that? No, completely wrong demographic. It's not the type of person who's going to spend 10 times more on dog food. But they're not in Whole Foods. And you know what? They're not in Shaw's any longer. This may be a great product, but here's a great opportunity. Opportunity to show you that they didn't know who their customers were. Now they actually only sell online. I have not been able to find them. I'm going down to New York this week, and I'm actually going to look in A&P and the ShopRites because that's the only place where I can see from their website that they're selling. But they were selling it for $5. Maybe they've adjusted their price. Who knows? Now, if these guys were the decision makers, if they made the choice, these are my dogs, this is the type of products we actually think they would prefer to buy. Fortunately, they're not the decision makers. So marketing is really not about just branding. It's not about just creating a nice brochure or nice packaging. To do marketing well, it's really about knowing who your customers are, being able to identify them through demographics, through shopping behaviors. Where do they go to buy? How much money are they willing to spend on products? And once you can identify that, figure out either the product to service their needs or how you distribute. So, knowing what's in your marketing toolkit, which is really the basis of my book, is really about who your customers are. And that's where we're going to walk through what I consider to be 8 marketing milestones of identifying customer needs to increase your chances of surviving in this where 6 out of 10 businesses fail. So, customers and the so what factor. Knowing who customers are and why they're going to buy from you is never about you or your product. It's always about the customers. You need to know, why do they buy from you, or why would they consider buying from you? What's going to influence their purchasing ability? Do they need to have enough money to spend $5 on a box of dog food? Do they need to have dogs maybe with health food needs? What are those influencing factors? Once you know that information, you could then have a better chance at really targeting them. And where do they gather data? I had a client once who refused to advertise in one publication. It was a magazine in the shipping industry because he did not like the publication. He didn't think it was good enough. It wasn't a classy publication. Turns out his customers all believed it was good enough, and that's actually where they were going to find information about buying the products he sold. So for 2 years he didn't advertise in there, lost a lot of opportunity because he made decisions based on his own input, not based on where his customers gathered data. So knowing who your customers are is milestone 1. How do you do that? You have to do research. Research is the least sexy and exciting part of marketing. Everybody wants to do branding. Everybody wants to create brochures or write something interesting or have a great website. But you can't do any of that until you figure out what your customers care about. So research can help you. You can do surveys. You can get people on your advisory board if you have a small business. Get input. Ask them, what do they care about? Why is this important? Focus groups, just one-on-one interviews. Many small business owners and entrepreneurs ignore this step or think that or even worse, they think they have a really good understanding of why customers buy from them and unfortunately discover they're wrong, that they were off target. Milestone 3. If you can't read the small print, it says, goodness gracious, I've been cloned. Milestone 3 is about competition. Competition is not just a company that does exactly the same thing that you do. So when I say Starbucks, who's their competition? What do you think of?
Seattle's best.
Seattle's Best, okay. Who else?
Pete's.
Pete's, all right. What else?
Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts. What value does Starbucks provide besides coffee? A chair and a table. At the School of Management, I've always said Starbucks competes with the library. There's a good social place to sit down, and everybody in the school is doing work. When I was going to get my MBA that didn't exist, I hung out in my bedroom actually because I was doing it at night. But Starbucks provides lots of other value. Lots of other value besides coffee. It's a meeting place. Now, if you're all going to have a business meeting, would you say, hey, why don't you meet me at Dunkin' Donuts? How many of you would say that? Nobody. Why? It's not quite so nice. It doesn't lend itself to a nice conducive atmosphere for working. So it's a great place for meeting people. It's a great business location. Lots of entrepreneurs are constantly in Starbucks. So what does it compete with in that way? It competes with hotel meeting rooms. I've seen mothers groups hang out in Starbucks. So when you think of your competition, you have to think beyond the obvious, beyond what products we offer. You really have to think about the value you provide. Okay, number 4, milestone, seize all opportunities. Opportunities relate to lots of different ways of making sure you don't become obsolete, that you survive. And those opportunities could be in many forms. They could be in a new business venture if you've been doing something the same way for many years. They come from differentiating yourselves and understanding your customers. But for small business owners, strategic business alliances are really important. Why? Why do you think having an alliance is going to make a difference if you're a small business owner? Having some partnerships that make sense.
Okay, it's simply the idea of power in numbers. I mean that when you do have networking, you have more ears out there. So you be looking out for your partners more, and you just have somebody else looking out for you.
Excellent. Somebody else is helping you support your business. Now, I'm a marketing consultant. Most of my business partners are not marketing consultants. They're business strategists, they're graphic designers, they're folks who target the same clients that I target, but they don't offer the same services and value that I do because, as you point out, what's your name?
See ya.
See ya? As he has said, there's power in numbers. So if you're small and you need to launch really fast, how do you do that without hiring a whole lot of people? You find out who else is going after the same people you are, and you work with them, right? It makes sense. Small business owners, though, tend to be on their own. What's a brand? Everybody talks about brand. This is the hot thing in marketing. So some of these brands are obvious, right? They've got names. What's that one? Apple. Mercedes. Windows. Somebody say Macintosh? What was that? That's this one.
Pepsi.
Okay, you guys get it. Is a logo a brand? What's a brand mean? What's so important about branding? Why does anybody care? You recognize all these brands, yeah?
It's like the whole sense that comes over your body when you see something.
Absolutely, great description. It's the impression you have. So when I say Disney, what impression comes over your body? Happiest place on earth, right? Mickey Mouse, Goofy for those of us who like dogs, right? It's a brand, it's an impression. Does a logo make an impression? Part of it. But what if Disney was really bad at customer service? How long would the mouse ears hold up in making you feel good? What else do you need to do well in order to brand?
You actually have to provide the quality that your brand promises.
You absolutely, you have to provide what you say you're going to provide. Otherwise, it doesn't make a difference. So branding is not about a logo. That's a part of it, just an impression. But it's about making sure you're providing that service. So at this point, marketing goes way beyond a logo, way beyond the colors that you have. And it goes through the service that you provide at every customer touch point, from your website to your brochures to what your folks are saying, and not just your salespeople. Customer service, anybody who touches your customers has to understand what is the value you're providing and constantly reinforce that. Otherwise, you really won't have a brand. So now, as we get to we're in milestone 5, picking your actual marketing tools. You can't get to this step. Do I do a brochure? Do I do a website? Do I do email marketing? You can't know this until you've identified your customers, because everything you've learned about your customers is going to help you make the decision where you distribute. So like we looked at the cereal before. I don't think they're distributing in the right place. Shaw's Supermarket doesn't make sense. Whole Foods, even Trader Joe's might make more sense for them. But clearly they're in the wrong target market. So here's an opportunity for those of you going into starting a business to think, I have to know my customers before I decide I need a brochure. I have lots of clients call me up and say, I want to hire you because I need a brochure. And I always ask, well, why do you need a brochure? Well, isn't that what you do? You're a marketer. And the reality is it's really very little of what I do. And if they've really done a good job in marketing, it may be that they don't need a brochure. I had a client who was in the mosaics business. He wanted a really nice brochure to market to architects and designers. Architects and designers all have, the high-end ones have beautiful websites. They've spent a lot of money on it. They're very sophisticated and it's sleek. My client did not want to spend money on a nice website. He wanted to spend money on his brochure. I refused to do it, the project for him. Why? Because it would have been a total waste of money and he would have said, oh, marketing doesn't work. Because here I have this fancy brochure and guess what? Nobody's coming to see me. Because his customers weren't going to be reading brochures. His customers were going onto websites to find out about what they needed to do. So marketing does work, but only when it's positioned properly. There's a rule about advertising that you really have to hit people 7 by 3 times. Okay? Any of you familiar with this advertising rule? So let's say you're going through a magazine. It'll take you 7 times before you actually tend to see or get a visual on anything. So if you read, you go with your magazine, how often do you really pay attention to the ads? Maybe 1 out of 7 times you will, okay? Now, you need to have 3 visuals for somebody to really make that connection and go, I remember that company. Oh, now I'm in the market. Now I'm thinking about maybe hiring them. That's 21 hits if you're really going to do advertising in magazines for it to have an impact. Magazine advertising is expensive. This is one of the major problems I've seen with my clients. They don't have a lot of money, but they put it into advertising and publication. And they don't get anything after a couple of months. It doesn't work. It's failed. And they give up, and they figure advertising doesn't work. Advertising might not work for them because they haven't figured out who their customers are, or they simply don't have enough money to make it impactful. So maybe they need to do direct mail. Maybe they need to get out and make phone calls, or get out on the street, or do networking. Lots of different ways to make yourself known without doing advertising. Milestone 6, sales. Sales a dirty word? How many of you have been in sales? Okay. Rest of you maybe have done sales at some point, maybe don't want to admit it. Sales a dirty word? It's got a pretty negative connotation, especially the used car salesman. Why? Any of you bought a car lately? Had any good, negative experiences, good experiences? You're in sales, right? What do you sell?
Moving services.
Moving services, okay. What do you think is the most important thing you do in selling?
Credibility.
Credibility. And how do you build that?
By not trying to oversell. Listen. Listen more than speaking.
Perfect. Selling is not about talking. It's about listening. When I started my career, I actually was a salesperson for a neurologic rehab company, and I had to sell our services to neurosurgeons. It was probably the most intimidating job I could have ever imagined. I was in my early 20s, like some of you, and didn't know how I was going to talk to a neurosurgeon. And my sales manager said to me, nobody wants to hear you speak anyway, Beth. They're there to talk. All you have to do is ask a few really good questions and listen. And if you spend your time listening, then you know what? You'll be able to position the value we have, our services, based on what they just told you. I thought, okay, I'll try it. And you know what? It worked incredibly well. Our region was one of the top sales regions because we weren't talking. We weren't yapping away about every feature under the sun. We sat and listened, figured out what the person wanted, and sold them on the benefits, not the features. The so what. What did it matter to them? Not what it mattered to us, what it mattered to them. Okay. How many of you know how we decide if we like the person delivering the message? So I'm delivering a message here. How are you judging me? What do you think are some of the most important qualities? Yeah?
At face value, just general appearance and how you speak does make a big difference.
Okay, general appearance, how I speak. How else? Any other criteria?
Whether you seem honest.
Whether I seem honest, whether I'm credible, whether I have any clue as to what I'm talking about, right? Okay. Body language, tone of voice, and actual words are 3 of the major categories of how we decide whether we like the person and believe the person delivering the message. You were going to add these up to 100%. How much is in body language? 70? Anybody think higher? Lower? Lower than 30? Here's what some of the studies have shown. 55% is judged on body language. I was at a seminar last week in Vegas, and Sir Bob Geldof, some of you don't know who he was a big peace activist, did a presentation in front of 3,000 people. And they're videotaping me, so I won't show you exactly what he did, but I was telling Paul, he kept walking back and forth. Actually, I have to demonstrate this. It was so appalling. He walked like this, and he talked. Beautiful tone of voice, did not look at anybody, then literally walked back, talked like this, did this for an hour. Never stopped to look at the audience, just kept talking. And he was a great speaker. He was telling us his life story and all the great work he had done. But I couldn't pay attention. It was way too distracting watching him go back and forth and not even look at the audience. He lost his message. Body language. Tone of voice, 38%. He had me on that. He had a great speaking voice. Actual words, 7%. You all are going to go away and forget everything I said, right? Unless you buy the book, then maybe you'll remember something. But you're going to remember my body language. You're going to remember the impression you got from my tone of voice. Remember that next time you're out giving a presentation or even just meeting somebody on an elevator. Those are all really important. Relationship management, milestone number 7. How long is your sales process? If you're selling dog food and it takes an hour to sell it, it takes 10 minutes, okay, not bad. If you're selling a complicated service and it takes 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, you have to know that before you get into the business. Because if you don't have enough money in hand to plan for that, you're going to be in big trouble. And understanding how much time is realistic is very important. And again, it goes back to your customers. How valuable and how much do they need this and how long is the sales cycle? Question?
Not sure what you're getting at. Do you mean as far as getting them to stick with your service or product, or just to get them on the first sale?
Just to get them to buy. From prospecting to closing your sale, very important to understand how long that process takes and what's realistic. Because you need to plan your entire business around that. Maybe it's a 5-year sales cycle. If it's a 5-year sales cycle, you may be in very big trouble and be one of the 6 out of 10 who don't survive. Cycles and seasons. Are you selling ice cream and you're selling it in the winter? How off are your seasons? How cyclical are your buying processes? Do your customers make decisions once a year? Do you do budgeting software? One of my clients does budgeting software. And they came out with their first product release. And guess what? They missed the budgeting cycle of 80% of their customers. It was a disaster. They hadn't planned it. They knew when their cycle was. But it was a software release. So it was delayed and delayed and delayed. And it almost put them out of business. They actually had to go take a loan because they had a great product. We're just pretty far off on their sales cycle. Milestone number 8, final process. How do you prevent being one of the 6 out of 10 who's going to fail? What do you need? What do you think? What's important to be successful?
Cash.
Cash? Cash certainly helps. What else? You don't need anything else? You guys are quiet. You probably need more coffee.
Persistence.
A business plan, yeah.
Persistence.
Persistence. I like that. Persistence, absolutely. Because you might be really close. What else do you need? Anything else?
You need a clear understanding of what your customers want and need.
Absolutely. You need to know what your customers need. You need a plan. And I think you have to have a lot of passion or persistence. You really have to be dedicated to it because you know what? It's not going to be easy. It could probably and most likely will be the most satisfying thing that you do. But it's not going to be easy. And one of the worksheets in the book actually refers to that. It's number 50. It's my last worksheet. But I ask you in this worksheet to put down the 10 reasons why you started the business to begin with. And keep it in front of you at all times. Because there are going to be some really lousy days when you're going into the office or just walking down in your bunny slippers to your computer and you're not feeling great. But if you look at the list and remind yourself, why did I get into this in the first place? It will help significantly. I think passion as a strategy is best exemplified by a BU student who I've been working with for several years. Her name is Joanna Alberti. She graduated in '03 from SMG. And is this amazing, bubbly young woman who started a greeting card business called Sophies Philosophy. And she was successful through true passion, through true persistence. She went with her greeting cards, which she stamped in it and had glitter all over, and usually glitter on herself, and went boutique to boutique to boutique in Boston, convincing people to sell it. They're $5 or $6 a card. They're beautiful cards. She persisted well enough that Business Week named her one of the top 5 young entrepreneurs under 25. She's been in Martha Ray, she's been on CNN, enormously successful, works 20 hours a day, but is doing it because she persisted, where people told her, you can't do this. But she believed in it, and it made a big difference. So I thank you. If you have any questions, be happy to answer them now. Question?
Can you go into the daily scope of what you do at Marketing Edge Consulting?
What do I do?
Right.
That's a good question. I'm a marketing consultant, and so what that means is I work with my clients to figure out what their customers want. And that could be a whole litany of things. Mainly it starts with customer surveys, research on the marketplace, and really developing a better understanding of who their customers are. And once we've done that, I might help them with a web strategy, might help them with brochures, I might redo some marketing material for them or help them with their sales process. But most of the time I spend trying to help them identify their customer needs and develop customer profiles. Okay, well thank you, enjoy the rest. Yep, question?
If you were starting your company today, what's one thing that you would do differently to kind of adapt yourself to today's landscape?
That's a good question. When I started my company 9 years ago, the economy was up. We were at an all-time high. And so I started off doing a lot of work with internet, very cutting-edge internet companies, very funky. And when the bubble burst, so did mine. And I had to regroup and really think about what other markets I needed to go into. And so I have a mix now of high-tech companies. I wouldn't say any of them are cool and funky, but they're stable. And I have financial organizations. I have spas I work with. I have a components manufacturer in Germany I work with. I'm much more diversified. That's a good question. Okay, thanks.